Well, one of Seattle's most iconic kitchens is being run now by a hometown chef.
This is so cool. Joining us on Seattle's Morning News right now is James Huffman. He's from Lake Forest Park, now the executive chef at Canlis, perched above Lake Union. Congratulations, James.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So tell us about your journey here. You're the first Seattle-born chef to become the man at Canlis. Tell us how you got here.
Yeah, in high school, I started working in restaurants. And at the time while I was in high school, I didn't really know that I wanted to adventure into being a chef or working in kitchens. And eventually, shortly after I graduated from high school, I kind of just figured out through my love for the restaurant industry really kind of blossomed in my senior year of high school. I met my wife in high school, who's Filipino, and got introduced to Filipino cuisine. And I was just blown away because I'd never tasted and had food like that before. And we started watching a lot of Anthony Bourdain and Iron Chef and Top Chef. And all of that just kind of accumulated to me eventually being oh, I think I want to try cooking as a living. And I went to culinary school, probably 6 months after I graduated high school. And from there, I didn't really look back. It was just something that came very natural to me. And I wanted to continue exploring what it looked like to pursue it as a career. And I started working at some pretty reputable restaurants pretty quickly. One of them being Purple Wine Bar and Cafe, which I believe now they only have 2 locations, but at the time they had one in Kirkland. That's where I primarily worked. And then after a year working there, I worked at a restaurant called Cafe Juanita, which is owned by Holly Smith, and that's also in Kirkland. And it's a very reputable restaurant. Honestly, when I first started working there, it might have had a bigger reputation at the time than maybe Canlis did. I think Canlis was just gaining traction in the Pacific Northwest as a more of a culinary destination, not just the date night restaurant, because they hired somebody like Jason Franey from New York City, who had amazing experience from 11 Madison Park. And so, yeah, I worked at Cafe Juanita for a few years just because it was the big restaurant to go work for as a cook. And Holly Smith is a legend and has taken on so many young, talented chefs, and they've gone on to do really cool things on their own. And then eventually the next step for me felt like going to Canlis. So after a few years at Cafe Juanita, I ended up at Canlis, and that was roughly 9 years ago.
So you've been there all this time, just named executive chef. What lessons did you learn back in the early days at places like Purple that you keep with you now at Canlis?
Yeah, Purple was a restaurant that was just the culture there was you just worked super hard. Everybody was fast at their job. So I was just surrounded by people who were extremely talented and extremely fast. And I was just a young kid. I was 19 years old working in a kitchen around a bunch of adults. And I really just got the sense for the sense of urgency, the pacing, and just what it looks like to just be generally a hard worker. And honestly, they put out really good food. The restaurant put out yummy food. And so I definitely got a sense for building flavor profiles in that restaurant because they just did a lot of really classic, yummy food that you would expect to eat in a Pacific Northwest restaurant. And then with Holly at Cafe Juanita, that was where I really kind of dived into what it was like to work in a fine dining space and using kind of old school techniques with a lot of elegance and refinement. I really learned how to use my knife really, really well. The amount of knife work we had to do in that restaurant was pretty intimidating. But there's only one good way to get good at that stuff, and it's just to do it over and over and over again. And then also I really developed my sense of what it means to use my palate, not necessarily like flavor profiles is one thing and just having a common sense of what ingredients taste good together, but then actually being able to season it is how you use your palate. And I mean, obviously working in a space like that with Holly Smith, you just you just have to adapt to like be able to understand like what is salt and acid and how does it react with fat, and like what is too much salt and what is not enough salt. So that was definitely a big foundational point in my cooking. And then when I got to Canlis, I felt very confident in like my abilities technically to be able to learn and grow with like more modern fine dining techniques, while also learning how to be, a really like respectful professional and person. Canlis is like just a champion of people, and they really helped me grow from being like, I guess, just like an inexperienced professional. Like I never worked somewhere where like personal interactions with your peers were so important. And that was really important for me. I mean, I remember in my first like year of working at Canlis, I was often like frustrated and I didn't know how to like articulate that in like a respectful manner, I guess. So I grew a lot, and Brady was the person who originally hired me. And he just gave me all kinds of opportunities to grow as a professional and a person.
So Canlis is kind of a legendary restaurant, and here you are at the helm. You've talked about all this experience that has led up to this. How does that translate into what one of your restaurant customers will experience when they go and dine at Canlis?
That's a good question. I think we at Canlis just want to always invite people into trusting us and our hospitality, and just kind of letting us take the lead. And hopefully it's the best experience that we can offer aligns with like what people are looking for.
It is an extraordinary experience. For people who know and love Canlis already, please tell us the salad is not going away. And then tell us what is changing. What have you brought to the menu? What's changing?
Yeah, salad's not going anywhere.
Sweet.
Currently, the way that we have the salad set up is it's like an additional charge to the menu, and the servers make it table side, which is kind of like the old school way of doing it. You can also go to the bar and you can order the salad at the bar. The service team won't make it at the bar, but the kitchen will make it for you. And it's on the menu, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. I think it's a fun experience to be able to like look at all the new and different things that the restaurant has been doing for like the last decade, if not longer, while also paying homage to the history in the past by still serving the Canlis salad. So I don't ever see that going away anytime soon. And, honestly, I think with Canlis, this is something that they've been doing for a long time, ever since, the era of Jason Franey. And that's just supporting our local producers and farmers and making sure that, we're honoring the product that they produce by obviously cooking it and making it delicious, and also making sure that the things don't go to waste. And that's just kind of the MO that we have at Canlis, and I'm just trying to continue to champion that. And obviously, being a kid from the Northwest, I want to make sure that we continue to support local farmers and we utilize the things that are growing in our region, while also supporting our own team as people and their professional and personal growth, and also supporting the producers and farmers, and making sure that we, as like a restaurant with our platform, we can continue to help support those producers and farmers, and also kind of progress the cuisine of the Northwest.
Okay, you are a local guy. I've got to know, when, of course, you're not at a fine dining establishment, what is your go-to fast food?
Well, I mean, Dick's Cheeseburgers is always going to be
another institution.
And it's so funny because I work with a ton of people who, are transplants in Seattle, and a lot of people don't get Dick's. They're like, it's not that good. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's like a nuanced thing. Yeah. It's like what I grew up with. And you got to have it like when it's busy at night, and so everything's like as fresh as possible.
I'm thinking some sort of
if you show up in the middle of the day and it's slow, then like you get cold fries and you get a cheeseburger that's been sitting around for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and it's not the best, even though I will still eat it and enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know. I guess Dick's is one of them.
Taco Time?
Big fan of Taco Time. Absolutely. Yeah. The way they run their program in Washington is extremely impressive. And I think people should do more studies on on their business program, especially obviously because like once you go outside of Washington and you go to a Taco Time, it's completely different.
Counterfeit Taco Time.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking with James Huffman, the new executive chef at Canlis. I have to know, because one of my favorite TV shows, the new season of The Bear, premiered this week. Do you watch The Bear, and is it an adequate portrayal of the restaurant biz?
I watched The Bear.
Oh, yay.
I love The Bear. It is slightly dramatized to an extreme, but there is still so much relevance within that like dramatization that like I just find it's portrayed in a really unique and beautiful way that like there's so many little things that connect with what actually goes on in the industry. And I was also impressed with like how with the times it was. There's just a lot of like little things that happen in that show that are just like things I've experienced or I know other people have experienced. And it's an interesting thing to watch. They do a good job.
Okay. Well, I've already watched the first episode of the new season. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
But it's really good. You'll like it. All right. Well, James Huffman, Lake Forest Park, born and raised, and now the big cheese at Canlis. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the new role, and can't wait to see your continued success.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys reaching out and making this happen. It's a lot of fun.